Welcome to the Melanated Midlife podcast, where you are in for a treat this week. We got a chance to meet Coach Shulanda Barnett in a previous episode, which I highly encourage you to go back and check that out. But she is a certified menopause coach and had so many good things to tell us in that previous visit. And I have since instituted a lot of her suggestions, and they are working, honey. So we decided to put all of that to the test really in a live coaching session. She got a chance to really walk me through her process that she uses with any of her clients. And it was eye opening. I kind of had a clue of some things that we were going to talk about, but even knowing that ahead of time, it was still a really rich conversation. So I want to invite you to take a listen in with menopause coach Shulanda Barnett for this next episode. Hey, everybody, welcome to what is a follow up episode of the Melanated Midlife podcast. If you remember our conversation with Coach Shulanda, she is a certified menopause coach, and she is going to actually walk us through a coaching session. I have offered myself up as a guinea pig. And I mean, and also selfishly, I have some questions. So I will just say that I'm kind of getting a free session, Shalonda, out of this while we're educating the masses about the services that you offer. So first off, welcome, Coach Shalonda, back to the Melanated Midlife podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here today. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and I think what happened during the first episode, there were a lot of aha moments. And I walked away thinking like, "Ooh, that was good. That was good." But then you corrected me and said, we didn't get all the way in and make all the points that I wanted to make." And so I was like, "Well, hell, I guess you got to come back." And so we came up with this idea of, okay, she's a coach. Let's let her coach me, a menopausal woman that is screaming and dealing with all the stuff, and figure out where are some areas that I can kind of tighten up and get more intentional with how I'm managing this entire journey. So this is a service that you offer. So I want to make sure that the audience that is tuning in today, that they understand, which, by the way, let me also back up that if you did not catch Coach Sholanda's first episode on the podcast, we are going to link that here so that you can go back and just get caught up real quick and then join us for this episode so it makes a little bit more sense to you. So let's first of all, Coach Shulanda, give everybody that did not tune into that first episode just a quick background of you and how you came across this service.
Oh, absolutely. So I have been in the health and fitness industry for over 15 years. And in the midst of that, I've done what, group classes, group fitness classes, health coaching. And on my journey into, as I was getting older, the journey that I didn't know that was going to come about was menopause. And in the midst of the journey, I got very curious about how it was affecting my body, and if it was affecting my body in this way, I'm pretty sure it was affecting other women's bodies. So I got certified as a menopause specialist. In addition to my health coaching certification, and also I have a master's in kinesiology. So with all of that knowledge, I just brought it all together and said, you know what, I am here to help women that don't know, that needs to know, and about their bodies and what that looks like for them.
You know, one thing that I appreciate about everything that brought you to this point is that you are a health and wellness and fitness expert, and that this doesn't make you immune to these symptoms and all of the things that come with. I don't. I don't know. I feel like menopause is like this island that we land on that
Mhm.
nobody was trying to get to. You know,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
we just trying to get off the island, try to get back to dry land, and it's a struggle. We swimming upstream,
And
and
yes, and them tides just keep pushing us back as we're trying to move forward. You know, something I was thinking about this last week, and I said, you know what? This is kind of like how I look at it. For the first half of our adult life, we got to choose our habits, what we ate, if we decide to work out, not work out, how our emotional health looked like, how our stress level looked like, what we did, how we dealt with it. So for the first half, 20 some years of our life, this is how we deal with everything in our life.
Hmm.
Then God brings in a monkey wrench and says, no, now it's time for you to redefine yourself. And so for a lot of us, we don't know what that looks like. Because remember, I just said the first 20 some years of our life, this is how we did everything. And it worked for us, for most of us.
Yeah.
This is what worked for me.
Hmm.
And that's kind of like how I looked at it for my, this is what worked for me. Whereas I knew what I needed to do if I wanted to tone a little bit more, if I wanted to lose weight, if I wanted, I knew what I needed to do, but it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
So now you have to redefine what that looks like for you. And for the average woman, we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
That's why I give thanks for people like you that are swimming ahead to call back to the rest of us. No, girl, you got to do this, and we'll be like, okay, we get to eventually, hopefully, some place of normalcy.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing I want to tell women is that because menopause is new but not new, it's still evolving. So that
Mhm.
means that research is still going on. And so even as we speak, what I'm saying now, it could have some type of different effect in the next couple of years after research has been done.
Mhm.
So, which is a good thing, right? Because, again, we're not alone in this. But as I continue to stay ahead of research and what's going on and how things work and knowing that everybody's body work differently, then it just gives us that opportunity to know that, you know what, I can do this.
Yeah.
I can do this. And I know God would not have given us this assignment if he knew we was not able to do it.
Yeah. Ooh, I'm feeling hopeful already. Okay,
Yes,
so
I want you to.
I'm trying. I'm gonna get there. And look at me. I'm brave enough to take my glasses off. So I just want to
Okay.
be fully here. So okay,
Yeah.
we're actually kind of switching roles because normally on the podcast, I'm the one asking the questions, getting all the thoughts out there. But we are going to kind of role play, but not really
Mhm.
what you offer in a menopause coaching session. So I will be the client and you are going to go through some of the things that you would ask someone that is coming to you for your expertise and support.
Absolutely. And before we get started, I want to definitely say this. For the average woman that does not know where they are when it comes to being in perimenopause or postmenopause, if you know that your body is going through some changes that are unexplainable, you might be going through perimenopause. And so I advise you to definitely talk to your doctor, to make sure that you get the blood work done to see what your estrogen and your progesterone levels are. And then also reach out to me because I can definitely direct you in the way that you need to go when it comes to determining what areas you need to work on when it comes to perimenopause and postmenopause.
Perfect.
All right,
Perfect.
so let's get started. All right, so and I'm gonna kind of like be looking because I have notes up here about you. So I
Hmm.
want to make sure that I'm going back and forward. So you may see me looking on the other screen. All right, so when a person usually come to me and I do one-on-one coaching and I also do group coaching. So this at this point we're going to do one-on-one coaching. And what I did with Akila, I sent her some questions so I can get an overview of what she's going through, what's going on, and how her lifestyle is, so I can get a better understanding, so I know what questions to ask her when we're doing our coaching. So the first thing I want to know, Akila, is what has motivated you to seek menopause coaching at this time?
Well, I am about 4 to 5 years in, and I do want to echo what you just said, that when things start feeling different and feeling a little bit off, left of center, whatever description we want to put to it, I should have paid attention at that point, but I just assumed it was stress, assumed it was work, assumed it was all sorts of other things until I started hearing symptoms from other people. Oh, I did that. Oh, I have that problem. Oh, yeah, me too. And when I went to, at the time, my primary care physician, which was an older, very well established man, all of these complaints were kind of dismissed.
Mm.
And I just figured, okay, they take all the usual run of tests, and I didn't have, in my opinion, I didn't ask the right questions. I assumed that the medical professional, which, he did the best that he could, but I feel like, as you say, that there's still more research that's happening. There's still more that is coming to light, more information as we continue to share what our collective experience is. And so when I went and I said, you know what, I'm having heart palpitations.
Mm.
Oh, well, let's check your heart. And I'm like, well, I'm not sleeping at night. Okay, well, let's check your this, let's check your that level. But at the time, the conversation about my womanly experience, I wasn't as forthcoming with that as I should have been.
Okay.
And I don't think he was connecting the dots. It was just looking at each individual thing that I
Mm.
mentioned, and those individual things were being looked at in isolation.
Mm.
And so that, and looking back, I was just like, oh, of course it was menopause. But at the time, when you're 46, 47 years old and you go to a doctor and say, hey, my heart rate just starts going bananas while I'm sitting still, or I start feeling anxious for no reason, or I'm sweating like crazy, or, they're thinking, oh, well, let's check your A1C, let's check your this. And I'm like, okay, when all of that comes back normal, then the question is, what else is there?
Mm.
And the what else is there never got answered. And so me, even though I'm talking about it very openly now, this is, fast forward 4 or 5 years, I'm still dealing with the symptoms. And I know that there are elements of my life that I probably need to reevaluate. Like you said, who I was at 25, what I was able to eat, what I was able to drink, the way I was, what time I went to bed, and all of that was very different. I was a different person physically, and I was able to manage. I was able to get up and just kind of roll with it.
Mhm.
Now, at 52, if I have that glass of wine at 8 p.m. the night before, it's going to stay with me
Mm.
well into the next day.
Mm.
And I'm like, that ain't what it used to be. So let me talk to somebody and figure out, what do I need to be doing differently? What's in my control while I'm going through this?
Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. So let's talk about some of the things what looks like for you when it comes to managing your symptoms. Tell me some of your symptoms, and then how are you managing that?
Well, the biggest one, of course, is, I won't say of course, but is the hot flashes for me.
Okay.
And I I now recognize when it's happening. So, going back to the initial comment about heart palpitations, if I'm sitting still, like right now, very comfortable in a climate controlled room, the first signal that a hot flash is coming is that my heart rate will just start going bananas.
Mm.
And I've recognized that that gives me about a 2-minute warning before the flush happens all over. And so in that 2 minutes, and imagine me running around my living room when I start feeling it and said, oh shit, I gotta go find my fan,
Yeah.
because that's exactly how it goes,
Mhm.
is I'm running to find a fan, or I'm turning on, because I have a big oscillating fan as well. So I'm activating all of my cooling tools as soon
Mhm.
as I start feeling that. And then I sit down in front of it and I just breathe and, let it wash over me until it passes and I'm good.
Mhm.
The other thing, like I said, my sleep is something that is very, very important to me.
Mhm.
And I started having that 3 a.m. wake up like clockwork.
Mm.
Didn't matter what time I went to bed. It didn't matter how tired I was. It didn't matter the stress level. Every single night, I was waking up at between 3 a.m. and 3:15, and it was almost like an alarm clock was going off.
Wow.
And it was, and you wake up and you're just like, okay, why am I awake? What's going on? Did I hear something? What startled me? And, again, if you look at it in isolation, you don't put those pieces together.
Hmm.
The other symptom for me, and maybe this is similar to what other people, they wait for the changes in their menstrual cycle before they really believe something is changing.
Mm,
And for me, I had a fairly mild experience as a woman with my menstrual cycles. I know that some Black women have truly traumatic experiences with their
yes.
periods,
Hmm.
and my heart goes out because it I was fortunate that I didn't have that. So when I say that I was, once my period started getting irregular, my irregularity was that it was super, super heavy on the first day, like crazy heavy, and then it would disappear right after that. And that went on for about a year.
Hmm.
So instead of having a, 4 day, 5 day flow, it would just come out like a thunderstorm the first day, and then it would be a trickle the second day, and then it would be gone. And so that was my first signal that, okay, things are changing because
Hmm.
that, I don't have a predictable menstrual cycle anymore. And that was kind of the run of the mill. I mean, of course, I was irritated. I wanted to cuss everybody out. The highs were really high and the lows were really low, and it was almost like going through a second puberty where you weren't able to manage your emotions like you had before, to be able to let stuff roll off your back or,
Yes.
just things that would piss you off. You'd go and get in the car and you'd beat the heck out of that steering wheel and you'd be like, wait a second, what am I mad about? Oh, yeah, and don't get me started on the brain fog
Oh.
because halfway through this conversation, I'm going to forget your name. So just
So do you still have a cycle or you're okay, so
no.
you're in postmenopause.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I definitely need to know. If you're so you're in postmenopause. Do you know how long you've been in postmenopause?
It's been for sure 4 years. So that irregularity, that perimenopause area was about a year and a half, and
Hmm.
then it was gone. And so I'm about 4 to 5 years post right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So usually, and let me put this disclaimer out here because I definitely want to make sure that people know that I'm staying in my lane because I'm not a doctor. Um, I am a menopause fitness specialist. Okay. And so a lot of the conversations that I have is from my experience, but also from what I've read. So I'm not here to diagnose anyone. But I do ask these questions just to get an overview of how we need to move forward when it comes to your health and your fitness, because it's just not the fitness part of it. All right, it's your
Hmm.
health, it's your nutrition, it's your wellness. We talk about emotional health, mental health. So all of those components goes together. Okay, so I just want to put that disclaimer out there because I don't want no one putting in the comment, she not even no doctor. How she gonna? So I want
How she gonna tell us what to do?
yeah, but I just gather information to see how I can better serve you, and so
Hmm.
that's why I'm asking these questions. So you've been in postmenopause for 5 years. I didn't know that. Okay,
Hmm.
so let's talk about this. Let's talk about the weight gain, what that looks like for you, and then we'll go into the nutrition part of it.
Okay, so I will say that the weight gain, number one, it's been steady. So I'm gonna estimate about 20 of my current excess pounds
Okay.
have happened without me changing anything about my eating habits or whatever. And that's been, over the past 3, 4 years. Now, I will also add that my job situation at the time, I did a lot of traveling. And so with that traveling, you're eating on the road, and you know what that's like. You don't have control over some of your choices. So I did the best that I could, but I can definitely say that every day was not the same. So one consistent is that I like oatmeal, I like eggs, I like turkey bacon. So those are kind of the rotation of what I eat in the mornings, but the rest of the day could go completely off the rails. And so, but it wasn't where I can't say that I was sitting up eating mounds of fast food every day either. As a matter of fact, the older I get, the more I can't stand it. So, eating real food, my fitness level, I'll say that I used to be a runner, and that was my thing. I identified as a runner and did several marathons in my younger years. But as I've gotten older and the weight has escalated, running has become uncomfortable on my joints because it's a lot of pounding on, everything from your back and your hips and your knees. And I just kind of stopped. And what I've found now is that I'm able to do the walking it's very enjoyable for me. It's just a matter of fitting it into the schedule. And then the other thing that I've been trying to be conscious of is the strength training, but that is the most inconsistent part of my routine. Mentally, intellectually, I know that it's important, but sometimes if I'm okay, I only got 30 minutes. It's not worth it. I'm not going to bother, and I'll just sleep it off. But like I said, intellectually, I know I should, but it's probably the one thing that I could do a lot better on.
Okay. Okay. So before we get into the food part of it, kind of like dive a little bit deep into it.
Mhm.
What would you like to get out of this coaching call?
I would, number one, I would like to know food wise what I need to shift because, like I said, what I've been eating has kind of been consistent outside of the work travel, has been kind of consistent over the years. But I don't think those habits are serving me as well anymore. I want to be able to go to the kitchen and say, okay, I need to make sure I have these elements every single day. I kind of want to know that some of the things that I've taken for granted, maybe I need to be more conscious of some choices instead of just saying, oh, I'm hungry. Give me a piece of fish. Give me a this or give me a that. I need to start thinking, okay, I need 20 grams of this, or I need to, I don't know, 48 ounces of XYZ, because I know that it's not about vanity anymore. And, there's a whole lot about looking in the mirror and saying, no, girl, I look good. And then you move on with whatever your bad habits are. But now, those, I won't say bad habits, but some of the things that I'm doing, you feel it very intensely at this period. And so I want to know better so that I can do and feel better.
Exactly. Okay. So food. Okay. Anything else besides the food shift?
Uh, I want to. You said something in our last conversation about triggers, my hot flash triggers. I want to know more about what I might be doing that is triggering my hot flashes.
Okay.
And I have an idea because you said a lot in that conversation where I was just like, Shalonda, stop attacking me. And so I have an idea of what those triggers are, but maybe if I'm more conscious of it, I can manage it a little better.
Okay. Okay. All right. So let's go to a place where sometimes we don't like to talk about, but we're going to talk about food. Okay. Because that will be the main source of what we need to change when it comes to feeling good about
Mhm.
ourselves from the inside out. And so on a typical day, now you talked about like, and we're gonna be as transparent as possible because the only way, and I have to have this conversation because, you know, sometimes the only way that I can really help is if you
Mhm.
really tell me, what do you really like to eat? Because food should be medicine, but the
Mhm.
way that the society is, the world is not as healthy as I know that it should be. and what we gravitate to
Hmm.
is a lot of unhealthy stuff. So with that being said, on an average day, give me typically what you would eat and what you was and how your snacks look like. So eating, your snacking, and your drinking, and that is including water and alcohol, if any.
Okay. Let's see. Starting in the morning, I think I've already alluded. My simple breakfast is usually oatmeal. Now, that oatmeal, I will say, probably has. I have raisins, honey, which might be too much sugar, but it's what I put in my oatmeal.
Okay.
So that's one meal option, and then I also like eggs and turkey bacon, and maybe a piece of toast with that. And I work from home, so being able to prepare a full meal is very easy for me. I'm not having to eat it on the road or what have you.
Okay.
Lunch, well, and let me back up. After I have that, I usually have some coffee, and that coffee is probably more what you would consider a latte because I have, you know, everybody, well, not everybody. I have my little fancy machine where I can just put the pod in and the button and have the frothy milk and everything with it. So it doesn't have a lot of added like Starbucksy type of sugary stuff, but I
Okay.
do have the flavored creamer and the coffee, and I'll sip on that slowly until it's time for me to, if I'm hungry enough to eat lunch. Lunch is usually I like fish. I do like mixed veggies. And if there's a starch like a potato, or I'm not a big rice person, but I do like my roasted potatoes and maybe a salad or something. And from that point on, that's about as good as it gets. I will admit that the second half of the day is my struggle
Okay.
because when I start reaching for salty snacks. And the salty snacks of choice are either microwave popcorn, tortilla chips. Uh, I also like olives. People are like, she like olives. I love olives. I love
Yeah, not
olives and
milk.
crackers. Yeah, olives
Okay.
and crackers. Yeah. So and so at that time, from the second half of the day, that is my problem. And I'll say from about between 2 and 5 o'clock, I am completely off the rails with what I'm reaching for. And I struggle with that. And it's so much where I have to tell my husband, I said, hey, I think I can do better if I'm just more mindful of it. Because at
Mm.
that point, it's towards the end of the day, you getting out those last emails, figuring out that last bit of a project. And I'm just trying to, snack on something while I'm focusing in front of a screen.
Okay.
And then dinner is probably a lot of the repeat of whatever I like to eat for lunch. So something like a fish, a chicken breast, and then whatever sides, which is, potato or veggies, or we don't have a lot of pasta, but I do love pasta. So when I am able to get it, I enjoy it. And a cookie every now and then is a good friend of mine. An ice cream every now and then is a nice hug.
Mhm.
So, and one thing, something else that I would do, because we're old folks. So at the end of the evening, we're sitting in front of the TV watching a basketball game, a football game, or whatever. And that after that, I'm in the bed by 10 o'clock.
Mhm.
So as you can see, the second half of the day is just kind of a little bit of everything. But
Okay.
the first half of the day, I feel far more in control.
Okay. Okay. So let's go to the food. So typically what I will do is I will basically customize you a meal plan based on everything that you tell me. And keep in mind, this is just kind of like a general conversation. I go a little bit more in depth when it comes to what you're eating. I heard a lot of carbs, a lot of sodium, a lot of salt. So this is what I'm going to suggest. And I am very realistic when it comes to coaching because I can tell you that someone will tell you, okay, we're going to stop doing this. We're going to stop doing this. We're going to stop doing. No, we're not. because that's not
Mhm.
how the brain
Mhm.
works. Because if I tell you, Akila, I need for you to stop doing this, your brain is gonna say, Shalonda said I can do this. Now I'm gonna do it today, but I'm tomorrow. So we take it real slow
Yeah.
until it becomes a habit for you. And so this is what I suggest when it comes to food, because that is more so my main concern. Um, because food triggers hot flashes,
Mhm.
depending based on what you're intaking. Food triggers your weight gain. So it has a very important, significant purpose for the stage that we're at right now. Is it a struggle? Absolutely.
Mhm.
If you're a person that, you know, and for many of us on the weekend is on and popping, because just like you say, in the first half of your workday, you do pretty good until you start trickling down to the evening, and it's like, okay, I want this, I want this, I want
Mhm.
this, and then or you be like, you know what, I do really pretty good Monday through Thursday, but when
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday, and Sunday hit, my girlfriends asking me to go to this new brunch place.
Mhm.
We're doing this, we're doing this, and it's like, so everything is obsolete. It's
Yeah.
like everything that you work for, and it's repeated, right? We continue to do the same thing. And so this is where the mindset comes in at. So the first thing that I'm going to suggest to you is I need for you to have a plan for yourself. So for me, I have to write everything out, because if it's not structured in my plan, I go off script, and it is what it is. So if you're a person that in the morning time, okay, you know what, you say I like oatmeal, a little bit of honey, you put raisins in there. And now I can go into, well, how much oatmeal are you eating? Okay, what type of
Mhm.
oatmeal is it? So I don't want to go there,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
again, I want to take it slow.
Mhm.
So with your oatmeal, you have that in the morning time. You have your eggs, and then you have your turkey bacon. Then in the afternoon, you say that you do your lunch. You say you like fish, or is it grilled? Is it fried? Is it
Usually grilled.
grill? Okay, grill. So you have your grilled fish. And then you say, after in the afternoon, that's when you kind of like start gravitating to the chips and everything. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to get some Ziploc bags, and I want you to have your what type of fruit do you eat?
Ooh, okay. I like bananas, apples, and oranges, and grapes.
And grapes. Okay, so
Mhm.
a variety, which is really good.
Mhm.
So, what I want you to do, I want you to put fruit in some Ziploc bags. Okay, and I want you to put it, in the refrigerator. So when you start, and I'm not saying that you're never going to gravitate to the chips and everything like that, but sometimes when we have something pre-prepared for us, when it comes to snack, we can discipline, because
Mm.
that's what we're working on. We'll grab that opposed to
Mm.
going in the pantry and getting those chips, because we've prepared for the fruit. We've prepared to put nuts in a bag, and it's sitting on the counter or at your desk, and this is what you're eating. So a lot of things that we have to start doing as menopausal women is that we have to be intentional about doing better. We say we want to do better,
Yeah.
but we don't, because it is what it is, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we're gonna tweak, we're gonna put little things in place, so you're able to say, you know what, this popcorn, man, I love my popcorn, but you know what, I'm gonna try to do skinny pop. Girl, I love me some skinny pop.
I do love it.
Girl, I love skinny pop. Girl, Gary be like, girl, you eating that skinny pop like it has got butter and everything else on it. But
Yes, it's the salt.
but you know what? Let me say this. Skinny pop has three ingredients. Only three ingredients. You get that
Mm.
other popcorn, it got about 20 ingredients in there. A
It's
hundred,
true.
and get the ones with the
Yeah.
bag. 100 calories. You already know what your intake is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Switch it out.
Mhm.
Switch it
That
out.
is true. That is true.
So little tweaks that we're going to start doing to help you along the way, right?
Hmm.
So that's the first thing we're gonna do. So Ziploc bags, put fruit in there, get you some skinny pop instead. And we're not gonna go crazy with the skinny pop, but this is, remember, this is in substitute of, because I heard you say you like the other type of popcorn, okay, the
Yes.
microwave
Yeah.
popcorn. So
Right.
you're gonna do that first, okay. What's your water intake like?
Water, I would say, and I can bring it down to the exact amount. I have a container that is 24 ounces, and I drink two of those a day.
Okay, so
So I
8 ounces.
yeah.
Okay, that's not enough. But I'll work with you on that, okay?
Okay.
Because some people say I don't even drink water. I can't remember the last time I had water. So
Yeah.
you're drinking water, which is good. Usually, I tell people drink half your body weight in ounces. So that means that if you're 140 pounds, that means you should be drinking at least 70 ounces of water a day. Okay.
Okay.
Remember, our body is made up of half of water. Okay. So once that water starts depleting, what are we
Hmm.
doing to refill the water that's in our body? Okay.
Right.
We need water to help flush out toxins in our body.
Mm.
Okay? And remember, toxin is everywhere from the environment, shampoo that we use, soap that we use. So we need to
Ah.
continue to flush out the toxins in our body. People don't realize how important water is. And let me just say this, because we haven't had an in-depth conversation. If you are using water and you putting those little squirts in there to change the coloration of the water just for flavor, I need for you not to do that. You might as well be drinking soda. Okay.
Really?
Really? Yes.
Girl.
What I need for you to do, and I don't know why that was on my spirit, but what I need, if because for some reason people do that because they don't like water just by itself, so they
Yes.
use other means to kind of like give it some type of flavor. We know we don't want to do that. So, but what we can do, we can infuse our water, which means that we can get lemon and we can get.
Okay.
Sometimes I cut up some apples and put some cinnamon sticks in there and just let it fuse. Do that. Okay.
Okay. I can do that.
So switch it up a little bit. Okay. So
Okay.
so that's a tip for you to do when it comes to your food intake. Um as far as, and I know we've had the conversation and we're gonna talk about alcohol for a second. Okay.
Hmm.
Um when it comes to alcohol, I told you that was one of the triggers when it comes to hot flashes. For
Yes.
some people, it goes a little bit more in depth because some people say, you know what, alcohol doesn't taste the same like it used to. It has everything to do with estrogen, your hormones. And it's like your body is doesn't your it doesn't what's the word I'm trying to use when it comes to how the intake of what we drink and eat is different now.
Hmm.
So you want to, and this is what I tell people that drink alcohol, drink wine, get like a little pad, and this is how you know the different triggers you have when it comes to like hot flashes. Like like you told me in depth when you something is about to come on.
Hmm.
Before when you know that, write it down and say, okay, what did I do 15 or 20 minutes ago? Was it the olives? Was it,
Hmm.
because it could be something very small that triggers those hot flashes. Was it
Okay.
those spicy chips that I had? Was it spicy food? So if you're a person that you love spiciness, processed foods triggers. So those cookies that we love to have,
I ain't even gonna lie.
yeah. But I'm telling you, Akila, and again, because some people look at it as like, well, I can't have nothing. Our foods, and you're gonna love me later because we don't think about this. The foods that we are eating, is processed.
Hmm.
Half of it is not even real foods. And I don't even want to talk about that because that's a whole nother segment to start talking about what's real and what's not real. It's not
Very
even
true.
real food. All right. So if we start removing some of the processed foods and all these other foods that's not nutritional or beneficial for our bodies, then we can start seeing a difference when it comes to our metabolism, the weight gain, the stubborn belly fat. All of that plays a role. So we have to first attack the food that we're eating, and we have to be intentional about it. Will we
Mm,
get it right every single time? Absolutely not. But at least we have to say, you know what? When I go to this brunch place with my girlfriends, let me pre-look at this menu. I do this every single time. I look at the menu, I see exactly what it is. Okay. Now,
yeah.
if you say that this is what I'm going to eat, and when you get there, you know it's a whole nother vibe. Again, it's being intentional. And you know what, to be honest with you, Akila, I think sometimes we may not need to be going out all the time. And not saying that you need to be antisocial or anything like
Hmm.
that, but if you don't have the willpower to, when you go out with your girlfriends or with friends or date night with hubby, you know what? Let's go. Let's try this vegan restaurant, or let's try this. Let's go here instead of going here. Or like I
Yeah.
told you the last time, for me and my husband, it's like we don't always have to go out to eat for a date night. Let's go do something different that doesn't necessarily deal with food, where we can just eat when we get home. So
Mm,
unless and this is if you're not, um, this is if you're not intentional about in what it is that you're eating. And sometimes you just have to become disciplined. Once you become disciplined, it's a little bit more easier. But if you know that you're not disciplined and you see that margarita flight and your girlfriends had that margarita and you just over there like looking, and it's like, and not saying that you can't have one. Now, usually you be like, well, back in the day, Shulanda, I have all that. And then I'm like, okay, bring me one more. Let's just bring it down just a little bit.
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And then that's when you come back to me as your coach, and you be like, I'm like, okay, Akila, how did you do last week? Well, and you say I did this. Okay, this is what we're gonna work on,
Hmm.
and we're gonna have a plan because again, you can't do this by yourself.
No,
I can't do it by myself. It's a struggle, but
that's
I want
true.
you to be the healthiest person possible you can be, the most healthiest person. And sometimes that it takes help. It
Yeah.
takes check-ins. It takes a coach to be like, we're not doing what we doing. No, what? No, why you? Didn't we say we was gonna do skinny pop?
It,
But
it
yeah,
that's a question that I got for you. So I'm thinking about if we're sitting in a situation where you're my coach and you're talking about making a plan. So if I'm looking at my upcoming week and I know that there's going to be family function, there's a birthday party, going to brunch with my girlfriends, I'm detailing all of that with you ahead of time and
hmm.
saying, "Hey, this is what I got going on. Tell me, or not tell me, but you're going to come back and say what at that point?"
So I would say, okay, you know what? Okay, this is for the birthday party. So for any one of them, this is what we're gonna eat before we get there. Okay,
Okay.
we're gonna eat before we get there, and then it doesn't hurt for you to have little small portions of whatever you want. But if you haven't eaten, because what some people do, girl, I got this. It's at 6 o'clock. I ain't eating it all day because I've been waiting for this all day to eat this. That's not good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna eat before we get there. Okay. Once we get there, you can nibble and get a little small portion of whatever it is that you need to get. And then my question would be to you when we meet on the next week, how did that go? And
Mm.
you're like, you know what? I actually did pretty good. Or you know what? I just felt this way. I felt pressured by my family, but whatever it is,
Ah.
we're going to revisit the situation and see how we can handle it.
Because you're going to give tips about how you're going to handle that pretty much in life. Is
Yes.
I'm not gonna come back and say, okay, Coach Shulanda, fix me. tell me what to do. You be like, okay, here's your range of ways to approach this. Now,
Yes.
how are we going to do better next time?
Yeah,
Not
absolutely.
the, slapping you on the hand.
No,
Bad girl,
ma'am.
you shouldn't have eaten that.
No, ma'am. It's, because I'm there. I understand. I'm just gonna give you another plan. We're gonna come up with another plan. Okay, that didn't work for you, Akila. Okay, so let's try this.
Yeah, then we tweak it.
We tweak it. And we're gonna keep tweaking it into something, and you have your aha moment. Say, you know what? Shulanda, for the last 3 weeks, I've been doing this. I'm like, bet. We on the roll. Okay, now we got that under control. Okay, so now let's work on this.
Mhm.
It's a continuation of things that we work on to be a better us. And so that's the food part. Okay. So let me go to let's talk about fitness. Let's talk about working out. Okay. So you okay, so you say walking is your thing. Okay. If you to be
Love
a
my
runner,
walking.
we need our knees. So it's like, walking is your thing. I love it. I need for you to do some body weight exercises
Okay.
because and I know and this is what I would typically do. I will give you some exercises to do. Okay. And depending on your fitness level, for some people it's like very beginning. You have some people that are in the middle and you have some people who are advanced. And so I will give you a fitness and I'll say, you know what, I need for you to do that this week. And then I say, and depending on how often you work out, you say, Shulanda, I only work out twice a week. And that's a maybe, depending on my schedule. That's another thing. I talk about time management because you know what? For a lot of us, health is not, it sounds very cruel, but health is not a priority in our life because,
I see.
because it's too much,
Yep.
right? I don't know if I want to work out. Oh, then I got to go to the gym. Then I got to. So it's not a priority because it's too much. So it's like, okay, but we're going to make it a priority. Okay. So we're gonna be like, okay, so for you, Akila, if you say, you know what, I love to walk, it's just my nature. I say, you know what, bet. So this is what we're gonna do. I need for you, how many steps you get? Oh, I get probably about 5,500 steps a day. Okay, so we're gonna get 7,500 steps a day. And while you sitting at home, I need for you to stand up. This is what I need for you to do. So
Mm.
I will give you I will give you a plan. You don't even have to go leave your house. I'm gonna give you a plan. I'm gonna give you a workout plan. The next week you'll check in because usually you'll have two check-ins. One of them will be your accountability check-in to see how you did. The other one will be like a weekly coaching call to kind of like see, and that's kind of like an overview, right? And so, how did you do? Well, you know what? I didn't do too well. Okay, we're gonna tweak it. Instead of you can't get no more than 4,000 steps a day. Okay, we're gonna do 4,500, and we're gonna make sure we get that 4,500. What are you
Perfect.
doing? Well, you know what? I can't. Okay, you know what? Let's do it this way. Oh, I let me tell you something. I got modification. I got a way of doing it. Whatever you tell me, Shulanda, I had a hip replacement 2 years ago. Okay, this is what we gonna do.
Yes, yes,
So
yes.
you can't tell me that, and this is for anybody. It's like, okay, you know what? I need for you to pull up a chair. Okay, this is the type of exercise I need for you to do.
Because that's what we've already had a conversation in our heads about why we can't.
Yes,
We've
absolutely.
al- we've already decided that nobody knows my struggle like me. They
Yeah,
don't understand, and you are going to kind of, number one, tell me all of your problems, tell me all of your excuses, and then we're going to come to where you are
yeah.
and start the plan right there.
I always meet people where they are. Always. I
Gotcha.
never, sometimes people get those personal trainers. They go in and then they was like, okay, I need for you to do 25 push-ups. Okay, you can do one. Boo, I haven't been to the gym in 5 years. How you want me to do 20? It's like meet people where they are.
Yep.
Meet people where they are. And so that's what I do. I meet you where you are. And I'm like, okay, this is our plan. This is what we're going to do to get the Michelle Obama arms. This is what we're going to do, help you to lose weight. But before you lose weight, we need to make sure all these checklists, you're checking your thyroid, you're checking this to make sure all of this is checked first with your doctor before I can say do this. Because if anybody tell you you can lose 50 pounds being in perimenopause, menopause, they lie because they don't know your body. They don't know your body.
Right.
And so that's so for you with the fitness, what I want you to do when it comes to walking, how many times do you walk?
Uh, I will say it's ideally to get the full experience, it's been shrinking
Okay.
to about maybe twice or three times a week.
Okay.
My ideal would be to go every day because that is something that just helps me, it gets me out of my head. It gets me away from a screen. So
Yes.
if I could just wake up every morning and just have that time blocked out, that would be my personal ideal.
And you know what you just said, I was like, okay, what time in the morning we gonna get up and do that? And
Hmm.
so I'm gonna hold you to it. It's almost like, you telling somebody, oh, I don't know if I should tell Shalana this, but
I know.
I'm listening to everything you say. I said, okay, she said that. Okay, so what time in the morning? So in the morning time, and it's beautiful outside, and it's like, okay, this is my window. Even
Hmm.
if it's 30 minutes, this is my window to where I am going to get up 3 times a week. Okay, 3 times a week. What 3 days? Because I like specifics. You're not going to tell me
Ah.
what you're going to tell me the days. You're going to tell me the time because that's what I'm going to hold you to. You're not going to say,
Hmm.
"Oh, I'm going to do it 3 days out of the week." What 3 days out of the week?
Yeah.
And then that's what
Yeah.
I want you.
I feel stopped right there because, of course, I'm gonna tell you three because it's a nice round number. Or
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you four because it sounds really ambitious. But
yeah,
if you tell me, okay, which days, oh crap, I need to schedule this.
yes,
That's that would make me stop.
yeah.
That would catch me in whatever lie that I was about to say.
Because it makes you committed to what you just said. That now it makes you think.
Hmm.
And so when people say, I don't have the time. So once I go through their time, okay, well, you do this. Okay, this is your piece right here. So for
Right.
right now, you may only have twice a week that you can actually work out based on your schedule at this time. So that's what we're gonna work with until we say, okay, you know what, now we're gonna add a date and this is what we're gonna do. Now you're gonna have to kind of like break it down between 12 and 1 because that's your lunchtime. We're gonna take 15 minutes. This is what we're gonna do. Once you start getting that routine, Akila, it becomes second nature for you. And it doesn't become a chore like I have to do. You like, I get to enjoy doing this because it's a lifestyle change, right?
Yes.
And so that's what I want people to leave when they leave my coaching program. It's like, you know what? Shalana taught me how to take those old habits and replace them with new habits for where I am at right now in my life.
Yeah, yeah, and I got a question about that because I'm also thinking, you mentioned what we've done for 20 something years or the habits that we've had. And I think I might have said it here that menopause to me in my brain, it was like a return to puberty, but in the reverse order. So all of the things with my body that was just out of control during puberty and I didn't know what was happening then. And when I hit menopause, I didn't quite know what
You
was
know what? Yeah.
happening. Yeah. So it's like, but I also think about, is menopause coinciding with that time in our lives where our bodies are aging
Mhm.
and the cumulative things that we've done to it? Because, we don't, when we're in good health, when we're young and vibrant, we don't think about what things we're doing to our body, what damage we
Yeah.
might be inflicting on our body. And is it just coincidence that at menopause, some of that catches up with us, or is menopause separate from that cumulative damage that we've done over the years?
Not separate at all. You know what? And I think you asked me this question. I'm not sure, but I think we talked about what would I tell women, that young women, the ones that are not like when we were in our 20s and 30s, what would I tell them to prepare them for the later years?
Hmm.
And I marinated on that on that question, and I just was thinking about it, and I said, when we are in our, because at first I thought, I said, well, you know what, a person, an average woman in their 20s and 30s, are not trying to hear nothing about no menopause or anything like that, because they're invincible.
Hmm.
Their metabolism is high. They do whatever. It's like they live in life. But the choices that we make in our 20s and 30s affect, and this is and this is how I want you to look at it. If you look at someone that is older, think of an older woman in your family.
Hmm.
Look at how, is she a woman of, she maybe work out, she maybe walked, very health conscious. How is she living now, opposed to, compared to an older woman that didn't work out, ate fried food every day, ate what? Compare those two together, and that's kind of like what I look at for us. This is what I look at for us in our 50s, looking at them. Do you want your body, do you want to look like that, or be like that, or feel like that, or have to go through everything that they're going through because they didn't make the choices that they should have made in their earlier years, so they can have healthy bones,
Yeah.
so they can be healthy, not a diabetic, or type 1, well, type 2 diabetic, prevent to having preventive measures to make sure that they're not at that stage. So that's kind of like what I look at for a woman that's in her 20s and 30s. Look at us, and we're telling you, prepare your body, your mind, for longevity, the lifestyle. You need to learn how to work out. You need to understand and learn how to do strength training, because the average woman, us being in our 40s and 50s, they don't want to do strength training. They don't want to pick up weights. They don't. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And that part right there, that's gonna change the game for you losing weight. I'm just telling you right now.
The
That is
strength
going
training.
to change the game for you losing the weight that you're looking to lose.
Okay. I will take that to heart because I admit that is one area that I am the most inconsistent.
Yeah.
And let me ask you something else because I'm thinking about my not just my younger self, but I'm thinking about our younger counterparts today. And we talk a lot about self care, and some of it I feel like is just a buzzword. I don't know if we really internalize what that is because yes, if I go and get a facial or I put all the essential oils in the right places and things. Yes, it sounds good. I don't know how intentional it is because I imagine that some of that is very general and not as prescriptive as it might need to be.
Mhm.
But with the our younger counterparts today that are in that 30-ish, 35 range, are there things that you're seeing in the health and wellness space today that might be counteractive to what they think they're doing? Are there any things that we're doing that we're calling health and wellness that really is just noise and causing possible damage?
That's a good question.
Because I know, at least for me, when I go, Sephora is just a happy place for me. And so when I go and I'm looking at all the stuff, I love going and learning, but I'm instantly overwhelmed by the skincare stuff or the all the special extra things that just didn't exist
Yes.
20 years ago. And I'm
Yes.
just like, was I supposed to be doing that? Or is that just something that's made up to sell products these days?
Okay. Actually, I think, man, the stuff that we were taught or not taught when we were growing up, I think we were in a different age, the way the society was back for us, right? Because even if, and I'm gonna go back to the ingredients on our with our food. If you go back and look at the frosted flakes that we used, girl, I used to love frosted flakes. Back the frosted flakes we used to eat back in the day, and
Hmm.
I was doing some research, and I seen it had maybe 5 ingredients. I looked at the same box of frosted flakes. It had about 35 ingredients on there. That's the
What?
difference
Yeah.
in what we used to eat back then, what we're eating now. So we didn't think about, even though self-care, people definition of self-care is different. And so if I'm taking care of me, which for some of us, we don't know how to do that because we take care of everyone else first. That's another struggle that some of us have.
Yes, I agree.
That's a whole nother podcast. But if people look at how they take care of themselves and putting themselves first, because I don't know about you, but growing up, that was something that we wasn't supposed to do, put ourselves first, because that was called selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But think about it. If Akila don't take care of herself, how are you going to be able to take care of your husband, your boys, your niece? How are you going to be able to do what you need to do for everybody else? So you have to take care of you first, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. So for some of us, we don't know what that looked like. But I know for me, I'm an advocate of self-care. I'm gonna take care of me.
Yeah.
You're gonna see me. The gym is my happy place. Um, Going to Costco, that's my happy place. You know, stuff. I mean, stuff just
Right.
smile on your face. You be like, girl, just be what. Now it's just me and my husband. But you swear I have a whole family over here. I'm like, oh, let me just be putting stuff in the basket.
I
Just
know. I know.
right.
I I hear you. I hear you because you think about the things that you would just do if nobody was asking you to do it. You know,
Yes,
that that
absolutely.
that's what lights you up.
I mean, absolutely. It's like, so it doesn't have to be taking a bubble bath and, but and another thing that I started doing that I wasn't taught, to take care of my skin.
Yeah,
Really, especially as you are getting older and you starting to see the wrinkles in places that you hadn't seen, and you start seeing, wait a minute, what? Okay, let me see what I need to do. We're accessible to more things than we were back in the day.
that's true.
And so when you know more, you do more for yourself when it comes to your health.
And that is very true. And that's gets to the probably the meat of where at least I am, and I'm sure other counterparts of ours that are in our 50s and in our 60s. You're right. Back at whatever point, 20, 30 years ago, the idea of the strength training, going into the gym and doing the things, it just wasn't talked about. You were shamed for wanting to put on some muscle tone. You were shamed for caring about things. If you were doing the cardio, that was considered very nice and girly and feminine. You go to the step class, you go and do the running or whatever. But when women started going elbow to elbow with other folks, other guys in the gym, it was just like, oh, it was a spectacle. It
Yeah,
was like, oh, what was she knows her way around the gym. And so, and I know this, coming from a relationship with a person that has been a gym rat his entire life, literally. So I had access to that kind of knowledge and that lifestyle probably a lot sooner than most women would, because he was somebody that taught me that you take care of yourself now because you don't know what's coming.
yep,
We can't envision our 75-year-old selves, our
yeah,
85-year-old selves, but what we're doing right now, that same point, that cumulative treatment of our bodies and our minds, that it does eventually catch up in a bad way or in a good way. So
absolutely,
if you're taking care of your 50-year-old body, your 70-year-old self is going to benefit from it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the most simplest thing you can put it. I
Yeah.
mean, absolutely. So for me, Gary's aunt, 90 some years old. She still walks. She goes walking every single day. Looks great. I say, oh, I just want to be like you when I get older.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
just, move around. Her mobility is wonderful. But just think about the average woman that don't do anything. And we're just here.
Mm.
You, we're going to all get older. Look at us
Yeah.
now. We're talking about menopause.
Yeah. That made me sad just now thinking about your 90-year-old self that is just sitting there.
Yeah.
That made me sad thinking about 90-year-old Akila having a lot of regret about not taking more action today with this knowledge
Yeah.
that we're sharing at the moment. So, oh girl, I just had
I'm
a whole
telling you.
vision.
Yes.
Because 90-year-old Akila probably gave up those margaritas some time ago, and she probably stopped making the excuses about how much time she didn't have
Yep.
and made the most of what she
She did
could.
have. Yeah.
Okay. All
That's how
right.
y'all can look at it. So I'm telling you, girl, that mindset shift is powerful.
It is.
It's so powerful. And I just, as a coach, I am here to make sure that whatever concerns that you may have, that's you know what, it's almost like a person telling you, like, you know what, you hire a person, a doctor. You go to your doctor and you have something going on with your body. You may do a little bit of research, but your hope is to think that this doctor know what they supposed to be doing because that's their area of expertise, right? And so when you look at, for me, this is my area of expertise. So I don't expect for you to have the answers, because typically what we do is we get very gung ho about just, being healthy. Okay, ooh, I'm ready. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Okay, Shulanda say put these in a bag. Okay, I'm gonna do this.
Mm-hmm.
You do great for 2 days.
Oh,
I
that's
yeah,
my.
I only give 2 days. You thought I was gonna say 2 weeks. Look, I only give 2 days. Then that third day come, you be like, I don't know what's in that. I don't. But that little voice, this is what people say all the time. Shulanda, your little voice be in my head. Be like, you know what? Put that down. Pick those, put that fruit back up. That's what you gonna eat.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm here to hold you accountable for your health. I'm here to hold you accountable. I'm that person for you. So and I love doing it, because I love for people to come back and say, you know what? For 2 weeks, I did this. I'm on it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
just need that. You just need that circle to know that you're, first of all, you're not by yourself. And sometimes you need that sounding board to say, you know what, I'm going through this. I don't know how to deal with this. Okay, girl, let's write it down. Now, what we going through? Okay, now what you need to do? Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be like, this is what I need. No, this is what you're gonna do, because that's too much for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Is you're stressed out, this going on, so let's do this, let's take, okay, you know what, Shulanda, that makes sense. That's what I'm here for.
Okay, this is very, very helpful because you're right. And I want to take it back to a point that you made before, basically a disclaimer that your medical professionals, there is it needs to be a part of this whole, I don't know, I guess this whole plan that you have for yourself where you are finding out, let's get the full exam. Let's see all of the things that I need to know, the different health markers
Mm-hmm.
that are important at this stage. And I say about myself, one thing that I failed is to ask better questions. So
Mm-hmm.
when my medical professional was in front of me and there's, well, tell me what's happening. Oh, well, this is happening. And then this is happening. And to remind and push a little bit more, but I am of this age and I am possibly to have a more of a give and take with that. And then from that conversation, whatever needs, what if there is an intervention that needs to take place, you've
Mm-hmm.
got the medical advice, but then to come to you, to come to a coach that is basically going to look at what are the parts that, the little habits that I can tighten up on, that are just daily things that I might have just taken for granted are not doing a lot of damage. But now at 50 something years old, it has a different impact on my body and just all of it, because what, like you say, the first thing is that we get to this stage and we think everything is out of control. But then my coach is going to say, well, yeah, there are some things out of your control. However,
Mm-hmm.
let's look at these other things that you
We
can
can
tweak.
control. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
Absolutely.
That is good.
Absolutely. Yes. So
Yeah.
that's exactly what I'm here for when it comes to you and your health. I'm just trying to make sure I got everything that I said I was going to do. Because we talked about food, we talked about fitness, we talked about mindset, um, being an advocate for yourself when you go to the doctor, which is really important. Um, do you have any other questions for me?
I think probably my only question is that if someone is coming to you for this initial type of coaching session, what are we estimating is a full coaching cycle when signing up with you? Are we saying that this is, oh, you're going to give me a couple of weeks and then boom, I'm on my way? Or how in depth does this go as far as duration, weeks or months that we're working together?
So I have different programs. So the one that you and I are doing is 101. So that's more customized, where with your meal plans, your workouts, but you still you get the check-ins, accountability coaching. I have a 6 week program. The 6 week program I call it Empower Six, where you have a person, they kind of know mostly what they're supposed to be doing, but they just need that accountability. They need that consistency to kind of like help guide them along. That's for 6 weeks. Then I have a one-on-one 12 week program called Transformation. 12 week program, kind of like what you and I are doing. And
Hmm.
each week we go through, I have something different each week where we kind of like build from the previous week. So it's not like we leave it because you have homework. It's like, okay, Akila, this is what I want you to do. This is what you, I kind of like give you your itinerary for the week. Then we go back and say, okay, how did we do? If we need to tweak it, if we need to add to, and then we that's a progression all the way to 12 weeks. Also within the 12 weeks, I incorporate strength training. So that's one of my main focus. So if you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, whichever one you are, that's where we start. And if we have to start building your strength from just real basic, that's where we are. And I help you along the way, all the way up for 12 weeks for that. And then I also have right now, I'm doing open enrollment where this is a group program where ladies come together every single week. Where it's again it's more of it's progression, but you have that environment of community to kind of like bounce off whatever you're going through. We meet we meet once a week, but you still have that accountability coaching call that I do individually within the 12 week to kind of like make sure that you're staying on task on that part. So that's the open enrollment is now for that one. And then in April, I'm getting ready to start my weekly coaching call. So, which means that every Thursday at 7:30, we get on a Zoom call with the community, women of the community, just like you and I, we're having a
Hmm.
conversation. I may have a general question that I start off and I ask you about, and it could be anything from mindset to food to exercise, whatever it is. But each week is going to be something different. That fourth week, I have Q&A, where if you have any questions or whatever, that also helps direct you into where you need to go. Every Thursday we're meeting, and it only works if you are present, right? Because
Right. Right.
you can do something and say, okay, I'm a join, but every now and then you come in, you come out, or whatever. But if you really take, and I did a testing on this a couple of months ago to kind of like, and I did it for 2 months, and I did it for free, and I just to see how people were coming in, see if it was going to work. And I mean, it was wonderful. People was coming every single Thursday, just to be a part of, and it helped them to stay on task. So that's going to
Yeah.
start in April, and I'll send you the information, so just so your audience can know, for the weekly coaching call for that aspect of it. And then
This is awesome.
also, and one more thing for Facebook group. So if you want to join my Facebook group, it is
Mm.
Menopause Talk, Fitness, and Mindful Eating, just to join a community. But again, you have to be present, not just join just to join. But if I'm asking a question about menopause, or like I just did my spring cleaning, I'm going to add a couple of things to that and ask a general question. You start getting involved, and you start to understand your body a little bit better when it comes to menopause and the transformation and the journey that we're going through. So that's when I'm building a community of like-minded women. So definitely join my Facebook group as well.
I love it. Love it. Love it. So I will make sure that all of this is linked in the show notes. So anybody that is watching this right now, they will be able to access all of Coach Shulanda's resources and a way to get in contact with her. So if you are just sold after watching this, you're just like, oh my God, this is me, then you can sign up. And regardless of when the enrollment is, I'm sure it'll be on a rotating basis so that you can sign up for the next cohort. But I will say, Coach Shulanda, I appreciate you being here. I realize that we were kind of going through the motions of this, but I did take a lot away from it. And it's interesting to think about it, not just about, the things that we shouldn't be doing or things that we can't do, but you're right. When you reframe it as a way of what you can control,
Mhm.
and it's going to be your future self that you're doing this for. So I'm worried about the right now. Like, I'm sweating through my shirt and everything, but I'm like, wait a second. This is actually temporary. This will
Yes.
eventually wear down. But who is that chick 20 years, 30 years, hopefully 40 years into the future? And what can I do for her health? What can I do for her well-being? And I think
Absolutely.
that helps me tremendously to frame this.
Yes, absolutely. You narrowed it down, summarized it perfectly. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate you being here. I dragged you back onto the podcast
Yeah.
to go through this. So it is always going to be a pleasure to have these menopause conversations with you. We are learning. I hope everybody that is watching this, I do want you to comment about a takeaway or an aha moment that you had from this session with Coach Shulanda, because I know that I'm sitting here and I kind of knew some of the things that she was going to ask me, and I still walked away with some new knowledge. So put it in the comments. Let me know what resonated with you, and we will, watch those and try to answer as many questions that we can.
Yes.
But thank you very much. I appreciate you being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me again.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for being here. We will close out this session of the Melanated Midlife podcast. Remember, like and subscribe. Definitely share this with any of your midlife besties, because it is so much more fun to go through this as a community. So y'all take care. Until next time.